Morning to a few of you already, either at the 7 o'clock meditation or the 8:30 meditation. So hello again, and then good morning to others who are just joining us at 10 o'clock. So so I'm here in the LBC Large Shrine Room. I live here at the Buddhist Center in one of the communities, so it's very nice just to be able to come downstairs and meet you all. And then I'm here with Guillaume and Michael, who are doing all the technical things, and they live in another of the communities. We've got 3 communities here at the Buddhist Center, and that's been a real boon actually during this time of lockdown, because it's meant that we could just much more easy for us to carry on this online center for you all. So so do keep coming along, do say hello. Do say hello in the chat, And Guillaume and Michael might tell me a few names of people who are here. They've just swapped places for some reason. I don't question what they do. I just kind of sit here and smile, and they do all the work, really. Hi, Maitra Pushpa. Hi, Emma. Hi, Dala from Bo.
From Isle of Wight.
Oh, Chloe from Isle of Wight. Hello, you were here at 7 o'clock every day as well. Great. Or 8:30, or one of the two. They've all kind of merged in my mind.
Catherine from Dublin.
Oh, who from Dublin? Who's from Dublin, sorry?
Catherine.
Oh, Catherine, who's also French, Guillaume.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can say hello in French. You can say bonjour. Yeah. Hello, Catherine. Yeah. That's great.
We have also Charlie Cameron from Margate.
Okay, Charlie, hi from Margate. It's great, isn't it, that we're just welcoming people from, all over this country and beyond. Really, really good. Yeah.
We've got Sasha from somewhere.
Sasha from somewhere. Yeah, we've got people from somewhere as well. That's great.
Oh, Catherine, say hi to us.
Yeah, I get it.
Adriana said hi.
Hi there, Adriana.
Esther from Stepney.
Hi, Esther.
I've got Lara from Wales.
Oh, good. Oh, yeah, Lara, that's good. Lara's been with us from Wales a few times, I think. Great. Really, really good. Oh, look, it's 10 o'clock already, so we'll be starting in a moment.
We've got Pedro from Belgrade, Serbia.
Oh, okay, from Serbia.
Yeah.
Oh.
Free drag.
Free drag. Oh, yes, we might have your name on. Really warm welcome. It's really, it's been one of the wonderful things about having the center online and having this retreat online. It means we can welcome people who, might not usually be able to come to the Buddhist Center. So that's been a huge boon and, lovely delight to us. And of course, we can have far more people than we ever could have had in our physical shrine room. How many people are with us now?
We've got 106 people right now.
106 people already. Wow, good. And a few more will be arriving, I'm sure, during the session. So if you've just arrived, very, very warm welcome from me. I'm Subhadra Mehti, and I'm part of this home retreat. And really, well done everybody who's been on the home retreat for the whole week. Just really strong encouragement for you to just keep on keeping on. Retreats, they go through sort of cycles and waves. So if you've really been engaging with your meditation practice, you've probably been experiencing all sorts of different things this week. That is completely usual for a retreat. And what you've got to do is just keep turning up to each session. And just, having confidence in the practices, these tried and tested practices, the meditations themselves, and actually the practice of being on retreat, going right back thousands of years to the time of the Buddha. So you can have confidence in that. So good. So in this session, in the mornings, I think this is the 5th morning. You kind of lose track of time on retreat as well, but it is the 5th morning. Guillaume's nodding. We've been talking about ways of going deeper in meditation. And in a way, I was thinking, we're actually talking about ways of going deeper in life. But one of the questions during the week, I can't remember what day, was, well, what exactly do you mean by going deeper? And I thought that was a very, very good question to say, what do you mean by going deeper? Very, very easy for us to bandy these sort of terms around going deeper in meditation and in life. But what does it actually mean? And I thought, well, maybe the best way to say, try and evoke what we mean when we say going deeper in life, going deeper in meditation, is to evoke, as we have been doing, the image of the Buddha, which you can see behind me. So what you see in the image of the Buddha is you see a figure completely mindful, completely imbued by energized calm. And you see a figure larger than life. I'll say a bit more about that in a minute. But also you see a figure who's golden. And the goldenness is kind of expressive of the outpouring that happens on enlightenment. So enlightenment isn't a sort of withdrawing away into yourself, away from the world. Enlightenment has expression in an outpouring of love. We'd experience it as compassion. And, it's a state of radiance, it's a state of joy, bliss. And yeah, this outpouring is a sort of panoramic wisdom. So when we say going deeper in meditation, going deeper in life, we mean starting to discover the possibility of the human mind. That's what the figure of the Buddha represents, a possibility that's beyond imagining. I'm fond of saying it's not just beyond our imagination, it's beyond what we can imagine. At the same time, we might have had little glimpses of that. Particularly through meditation, but in other experiences of our life. So that's what we mean when we talk about going deeper. A Buddha, as Jnanavatra was saying yesterday in this session, which, by the way, if you didn't get a chance to tune into, I absolutely recommend. I was just thrilled by the session yesterday morning. I just thought it was wonderful. I've listened to it twice already at the actual time, and then I played it back. And what Jnanavatra was saying yesterday was that a Buddha, an enlightened being, and remember that's a potential for every single human being, every single being, in fact. Enlightenment is a possibility for all of us. It isn't. Buddha isn't like God or anyone like that there's always a division between humans, and the figure of the Buddha is saying that's potential for all of us. An enlightened being would experience life as dynamic, as interconnected, as always flowing and unfolding. It would be like a continual state of wonder, that state, if you can even call it that, of enlightenment. And if we were enlightened, that's how we'd experience life, and we'd experience ourselves in quite a different way. We'd experience ourselves as part of that. And the Buddhist life is lived for that. That's what we're practicing towards. And in that state, to the extent we realize that state, to that extent, we can be a force for good in the world. Because it's naturally outgoing, that state. You wouldn't even have to sort of try, as it were, to be a force for good in the world. You wouldn't have to try and be compassionate and try and be kind. Actually, the natural state of your being would just be the expression of that. So whoever encountered you, whoever encounters an enlightened being, if they're receptive, and actually some people weren't receptive to the Buddha, even in the Buddha's time, but for the people who were receptive, they would just feel uplifted. They would feel, I imagine they would feel more fearless. They would feel that anything was possible. They would feel themselves, growing a bit like, I don't know, the way a sunflower turns towards the sun and opens up when the sun shines. And that's how you'd experience yourself in the presence of an enlightened being, if you were receptive to that. And if we were enlightened, we'd be contributing to the world. Although we wouldn't even sort of feel like we were contributing. Other people would experience it as contribution. We would just be in that state of wonder and mystery and flow and connection. So that's the vision. I hope I managed to evoke something of the vision. That's what we mean when we're talking about going deeper in meditation, going deeper in life. We're talking about starting to realize that vision, even a little bit. And all our practice this week has been sort of setting the ground for that. Yeah, so our practice during the week has been cumulative. I mean, we're probably not going to be enlightened by the end of this session. We might be. It's always a possibility. At the same time, the pattern is that we follow. It follows the pattern that we've been setting this week. So we started off with integration, becoming a whole person. Then positive emotion or skillful intention, realizing that actually our happiness and others people's happiness aren't so distinct, actually, that other people's experience isn't so separate from ours. That's the basis of skillful intention, of positive action. And then we explored receptivity, or sort of dharmic responsiveness. So that's a whole very, very important aspect being receptive to the truth, trying to engender that state, for want of a better word, of responsiveness within ourselves. And then yesterday and today, we're looking at the great stage of spiritual death. And then tomorrow, we'll be looking at the great stage of spiritual rebirth. So that's the sort of pattern. Of course, that pattern is sort of repeated, if you like, again and again and again. So if we have a glimpse of the stage represented by spiritual death and spiritual rebirth, then that feeds back into deeper integration, more positive emotion, more dharmic responsiveness, and then deepens the experience of spiritual death and spiritual rebirth. So it just keeps kind of going like that. It keeps sort of, each augments the other again and again and again. And that's the pattern we've been following this week. So, yes, in a moment I'm going to say what this term spiritual death, in case you missed yesterday, but it's always worth repeating. But I just want to say one more thing. What I want to say is, although I'm talking about it as a sort of pattern, it's not exactly linear. So it's not like, well, or maybe another way of saying this is we can't force this pattern to unfold. What we can do is create the conditions. I was just chatting to Michael beforehand, who's, as I say, one of the tech team, and Michael's an organic gardener, and I was very keen to talk to him because I've become a gardener, as some of us have been during the lockdown. I'm fancying myself as a gardener on our little balcony in our community. And I've been growing quite a few things from seed. And of course, if you've ever tried that, I mean, it really is like a miracle, isn't it? You prepare your seed tray and you put all the nice soil and you sprinkle the seeds and you keep watering it. And then every morning, you get on and you kind of look at it nothing's happened. It's just like earth. And you think, oh no, like it's not working. Oh, it's not going to work. They're not going to grow. It's been ages now. It's been at least like 4 days. I planted them a week. How come they're not growing? And then, of course, one day you wake up and you think, oh, like I think that's a tiny shoot. And it's the teeniest, tiniest little shoot. And then, of course, the next day it's grown a bit more, grown a bit more. And I was thinking, of course, this is an analogy for meditation and Dharma practice. It's easy to think nothing's happening. It's easy to think, oh, you know, that meditation was rubbish. I just spent the whole time really distracted. You know, what's all this about, you know, these states of wisdom and compassion? I just, you know, still feel grumpy and distracted. So you need to remember that it's the efforts that you're making that are the important thing. Just keep making the effort, and then the seeds, as it were, will grow. Yeah, you just keep setting up the conditions, and the conditions are making the effort. The seeds will grow, something will flourish. You don't know when, you don't know how actually, but something will flourish. In fact, it's even more reliable than those garden seeds. It's even more guaranteed if you make the effort that actually growth will happen, but it might not always be in exactly the form that you're thinking it should be, and it might not always be at exactly the time that you think it should be. It's literally more organic than that. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that first. It's not that we're, you know, it's not that it's like, you know, day 1 integration, day 2 positive emotion, day 3 like day 6 enlightenment, bing, you know, it's not going to work like that. At the same time, there is a pattern. Yeah, at the same time, there is a pattern. And the pattern is that we're trying to create a fit mind, a bit like having a good soil, and that fit mind is through the integration, positive emotion, receptivity for real growth, for real wisdom and compassion to start arising. So yeah, so that's by way of sort of recap, sort of bit of introduction. And now I want to revisit this whole arena of spiritual death. And the first question to get clear is, well, what is it that dies? Yeah, what is it that dies? We're saying spiritual death. What is it that dies? So basically, what dies is delusion. Yeah. So we're talking about spiritual death. What dies is delusion. And the delusion that that we want to die is pre-conscious. Again, this is what Jnanavacha said yesterday. Unenlightened humanity is conditioned by pre-conscious delusion. Yeah. And that pre-conscious delusion is, well, one way of putting it is that there's a real me in the middle of everything, as opposed to a real world out there. And that's how we experience it, is the me is opposed to the world. The me has to defend itself against the world, or either you know, keep out what harms it or bring in what's going to sort of bolster it, as it were. And that's how we experience ourselves unenlightened. We experience ourselves as there's a real me in the middle of it all, and everything kind of circles around that. So the unenlightened state is characterized by a sense of relating to everything in the end as what's in it for me, or variations on that are why is this happening to me, if it's something painful, or what do people think about me? Yeah. So that's how the unenlightened state is characterized, that everything in the end comes back to what's in it for me. Sometimes we manage to attenuate that a bit, perhaps in deep meditation, often in experiences of beauty. You just, you sort of forget to be a me for a moment when you're really absorbed and say, I don't know, looking at just the wonder of these early summer trees, and you just look up and look at them. Or, you're absorbed in perhaps something like poetry, or you're absorbed in even a very deep communication with somebody. You forget to be a me. You forget to ping back to what's in it for me. What do people think about me? What's happening to me? But even if you attenuate it a bit, as long as you're unenlightened, it will ping back. My image for it is it's like a bit of elastic that sometimes it can get stretched quite far, but it pings back. That's what unenlightenment consists of. Now, the really, really important thing to say is because that's a pre-conscious assumption, it's not sort of culpable, it's not moral, it's not ethical. In other words, we're not to blame for that. It's not something that we've consciously done. And I think that's very, very important. Just to sort of say we're not to blame in a certain way. I think I want to say that because often when we talk about craving, for example, like the root of our suffering being craving, we can think, oh, craving, that doesn't sound very nice. It feels like, we can easily feel sort of guilty for having that. We can feel guilty when we have that little voice when it surfaces, oh, what's in it for me? Why is this happening to me? What am I going to get out of this? It's pre-conscious. We're not culpable. It's not a moral thing. It's neither skillful nor unskillful. It just is how we are when we're unenlightened. So it's not moral. At the same time, is the root cause of all our suffering. It's the root cause of all our suffering. If we want to realize our full potential as represented by the Buddha here, that's an image for enlightenment. We have to sort of undo that. And Yanavacha talked about it as a knot yesterday, which is very, very good image, because it's like we're sort of tangled in this. All we are is one big tangle of what's in it for me. Why is this happening to me? What do people think about me? We can start to unloosen that knot, yeah. We have to actively do that. It's not going to undo itself. I think that's really, really important as well. Unless we actually intelligently work at unpicking it, it won't undo itself. No matter how much meditation we practice, in terms of the mindfulness of breathing and the metta bhavana, that will make better conditions for unpicking the knot. I'm trying to think of a metaphor there, but anyway, I can't quite think of a metaphor for that. But it'll make better conditions for being able to undo the knot. But on its own, that won't undo the knot. The knot won't untangle by itself. We actually have to apply ourselves directly to untangling that knot. And that is what wisdom reflections that we started on yesterday are doing. They're applying, it's us, when we're sort of engaging in wisdom reflections, we're applying ourselves to untangling that knot. And in the untangling, in the letting go, that new consciousness naturally arises. And how we'll experience that in meditation is as release and relief. Today, in the earlier meditations, in both of them, the 7 o'clock one and then in the 8 o'clock one with Maitreya Bandhu, we were looking for pleasure in meditation. That's connected with this, because the relief and the release, when that knot starts to undo, is pleasurable. So that's what to look for as well in these wisdom reflection meditations, is look for that sense of release and relief. Then we'll know we're on the right track. So yesterday, in yesterday's meditation, Jnanavacha took us on a route that was looking at the unsatisfactoriness of unenlightened life as a way in, as a lens to look through, to sort of untie the knot, to slightly mix the metaphors. Today, we're going to be looking in our direct experience at impermanence. So let me just say what we're going to do in the meditation, and then we'll have a go at doing it. So so we're going to look directly at the fact that if we look with any degree of closeness to our experience, we won't find anything fixed and unchanging. And then we're going to see that if there's nothing fixed and unchanging, then there actually is nothing to cling to. It's like trying to hold on to water or snow or something like that. If everything is unfixed, unchanging, what is there to hold on to? We can't hold on. So if we could only see that and experience it directly, clinging would, well, it would just naturally, I don't know, just naturally fade away, wouldn't it? Because you would, just as you wouldn't try and hold on to water, you wouldn't try and hold on anymore. We wouldn't try and hold on anymore. So clinging would just naturally let go. And with clinging, suffering would let go. They co-create each other. When we try and hold on to what is actually unhold onable to, when we try and grasp the ungraspable, that's what causes all our suffering. But we won't undo that tendency just by thinking about it. We'll never undo it by thinking about it. It's easy to think about it. It's easy to think about impermanence. What's much more difficult is to realize it deeply in our being. And it's only when we realize it deeply that clinging will let go and that suffering will disappear, actually. No clinging, no suffering anymore. That's what we're trying to move towards. And it's not just an absence of suffering. It's that then a new consciousness arises that's no longer circling around me in the middle of it all. It's no longer this sort of tight knot. It's something expansive, something that's continually unfolding, something that's in harmony with life. It's not having to protect itself against life. It's not resisting life. It's unfolding. It's new. It's ever new. And any efforts we make towards this is wonderful, actually. We'll experience the wonder of that. Yeah. So it's not that it has to happen all at once, is what I mean. We can have little letting goes all along the way. So there's many different ways that we can meditate on impermanence. For example, if you were practicing the mindfulness of breathing, you might just start to notice, well, what is this thing I call breath? I'm saying breath as if it's a thing, but all that is a flow of sensation. You could ask yourself, can I find anything at all here that isn't changing? You won't find anything, but the looking itself is important. So yeah, for example, one could simply do that with the breath. And I'd encourage you to do that, especially if you find yourself in a even relatively concentrated state of mind. You can do that. what we're going to do in this meditation is a favorite way of doing it for me, because we're going to use the very things that we usually think of as hindrances to meditation as a way of directly experiencing impermanence. And by doing that, letting go of clinging and moving to a more expansive state. So during the week, in both the morning sessions and the evening sessions, I've had loads of questions about what do we do about things like noises going on round about us, either in our own home environment or outside our home, or noises in the shrine room here, because there's hardly anyone in it these days. We've noticed it's a lot more echoey and creaky than we'd ever noticed before. And of course, they probably sound even noisier to you down the microphone than to us. So I've had loads of questions about, like, what do we do about noises? What do we do about physical pain? What do we do about emotional pain? So in this meditation, we're going to use those things as actual means of cultivating insight. So that's good, isn't it? We're going to use the very things that we usually think of, we habitually think of as stopping us meditating, as the very means to reflect, to have insight reflection. So how it's going to work is this. So if you're sitting there meditating, we'll just be lightly using our breath as an anchor. Just look for, is there anything that you're saying to yourself, I can't meditate because of such and such. So you might be saying, I can't meditate because there's too much noise going on. Or you might be saying, I can't meditate because I'm too hot. Or you might be saying, I can't meditate because I'm too sad, too happy, too anxious, too tired. I hope some of you kind of recognize that kind of thing that we might be saying to ourselves, I can't meditate because of such and such. So what I want you to do is notice that, and then whatever the thing is, so say it's too hot. I can't meditate because I'm too hot. Actually tune in to that, to what it is that you're actually labeling as too hot, and start to notice more finely what that is. Okay, so too hot. Okay, so that might be, oh, actually my skin's like breaking out into a light sweat. Oh, now, okay, so now where am I feeling this too hot? Oh, it's kind of in my face and it's in my hands as well. So you're noticing the sensations of it. And actually you're noticing that they're changing all the time. So already this thing I'm calling too hot will be starting to break down. You're noticing that it's simply a flow of sensations. You'll also be noticing that actually your attention is coming and going as well. So this thing that you've thought, it's too hot, I can't meditate, actually, it's not even permanent in the sense of your attention on it isn't even permanent. Sometimes you're more aware of this thing I'm calling too hot. Sometimes you're less aware of it. So just notice that actually there's no such thing as too hot, as it were. There's simply a flow of sensations. And already that'll probably engender a sort of letting go. When you're saying too hot, that's grasping, that's clinging. You're sort of, even though it's unpleasant in a way, you're kind of, you're clenching around it. You're making it into a thing. As soon as you notice that it's not a thing, it's simply a flow of sensation, or that almost naturally a letting go will happen. And then something new, you'll just experience yourself in a different way that'll be characterized by relief and release and freedom, I remember the very first time I experienced this. I was absolutely amazing. I was meditating and I was a bit hungry. There was all sorts of reasons for that whole long story, but anyway, I won't tell you the whole long story. I was a bit hungry, and so I was saying to myself, "Oh, I can't meditate. I'm starving," you know. But then I started to pay attention to the sensations of what I was calling being too hungry, and I realized, gosh, it's just a flow of sensations. And it was sort of beautiful, just watching this flow of sensations, and it was freeing. And afterwards, I reflected on the experience and I realized if I could live my whole life like this, I would have nothing to fear. Even death itself wouldn't be a fearful thing. Um, and it was very, very early on in my sort of meditation life, probably about 30 years ago now, but it was one of those moments of realization that I've been able to let inform my meditation practice to some extent from then on. So I hope that's clear as an instruction. Look for the thing that you're telling yourself, this is stopping me meditating, and pay attention to the impermanence of that, not as an idea, not as, it's not a sort of stoical, well, I'll just bear this because all things pass. That's not it at all. It's, you know, there may be a place for that, but I'm suggesting something different. I'm suggesting looking for the impermanence in the actual experience as it's unfolding. Now, you may be thinking that's all very well, but what if there's nothing sort of grossly affecting me in that way? There's no big thing that's saying I can't meditate because of da, da, da. Then just ask yourself, what's stopping me going deeper? So if you're not already enlightened, there will be something that's stopping you going deeper. There must be something stopping you going deeper, or you would be enlightened. If you are enlightened, that's wonderful. If you're not enlightened, there's something, you know, well, in a sense, why are you not? So again, you're not asking that intellectually, but you're looking with delicacy for what's stopping me going deeper. And if you ask that question intelligently, there will be a story. You look for the story and then try and look for what that story consists in, as it were. See, well, what is it? What's that? Try and sort of see that story isn't a fixed and permanent thing. Directly look for the impermanence of that. Again, this isn't an intellectual thing. You're not saying, no, that story is not true, because look for the story and the physical counterpart of that story. And then look for the flow of sensation, yeah? And see that that's all there is. And then look for the release and the relief, yeah? So I hope those are clear as instructions. So we're meditating, looking through the lens of impermanence directly at our experience. And this is a wisdom reflection meditation. We're using the breath as our anchor. And you can always come back to that. If you don't feel like doing the wisdom reflection or you get a bit lost, just come back to the mindfulness of breathing. That certainly won't do you any harm. But I'd really encourage you, if you do feel like you want to look in this way. Yeah. So good. So we're going to now set ourselves up for meditation, and we'll be meditating for 25 minutes. And I might say a few things during the meditation, but there won't be any bells during it. There'll just be a bell at the beginning and the end. So just now setting yourself up. meditation, looking through the lens of impermanence. Keep anchoring yourself with the breath and asking yourself, what's stopping me going even deeper? actively looking for impermanence, for the changingness of everything in your experience. look for any feelings of relief or release. And now Just a few minutes. Still trying to sit completely still with your eyes closed, but just relaxing any efforts you're making to explore impermanence. Just sitting. Resting the mind in samadhi. Not trying to do anything. Not trying not to do anything. Okay, good. Well done, everyone. So now once again, it's a chance to go over to your groups. So in a moment, you'll find yourself in your small group. If you're not familiar with these, this is just a chance for you to check in with how things are going for you on the retreat with a smaller group of people. And then we'll end in the group, so we won't come back all together again. So I'll just say goodbye for now.